Hey guys, what's up? It's Workout Wednesday, and here's your workout for today. The warm-up is 7 minutes long, just like last week. It's 30 seconds a piece, and there's 7 exercises within the warm-up. So there's jumping jacks, downward dog to upward dog, hip opener and closers, plank swimmer arms, alternating legs for your hip hinge, down dog to toe touch, and side lunges. And then the circuit itself, 3 exercises. Again, the timing is 40 seconds of work and 20 seconds transition to the next exercise. It's squat jumps, lateral plank walk to push up, and then V-ups. So I'll show you in each round the variations of each of those exercises. All right, enjoy and have a good time. All right, so you won't hear the beeps on the timer in this video for this warm-up, but we're starting off with jumping jacks. We're going for 30 seconds for each of these exercises. For your jumping jacks, just stay nice and tall. Keep your shoulders away from your ears. Open up the chest and shoulders, and stay light on your toes. So keep your belly drawn in tight, and you're still engaging your glutes, especially as you're landing nice and soft on your feet for each jump. The next exercise for your warm-up is a down dog to up dog. So you're starting in your plank, and your hands and your feet stay right where they're at for the up dog and the downward dog. So the downward dog, relax your heels as you go into the downward dog so you can get that little calf stretch, hamstring stretch, open up the chest and shoulders. When you're going into the upward dog, relax the shoulders down and away from the ears. The next exercise is a hip opener and hip closer. So you're standing. I'm taking a few steps in between each hip opener just for rhythm reasons, balance reasons. You can do it however you want. You can go across the room. About halfway through, so 15 seconds in, I'm going to start doing the hip closer. So this one's a little more awkward direction, but you're going in both directions for this warm-up. The next exercise is a plank position with swimmer arms. So even though they're called swimmer arms, you're not actually going to move your plank. So bringing your arms out and around, it doesn't matter the range of motion of the actual arm. You just want to try to maintain your plank the entire time. So squeeze your legs, glutes, core, and keep your shoulders driving down and away from the ears. Nice long spine, long neck, and maintain your balance the entire time. Next, we have an alternating hip hinge to get the hamstring stretch. And as you're scooping the arms down, up, and around, again, you're just trying to get your shoulders and your chest nice and open. Stay nice and free with your arms and shoulders so you're not forcing any stretch, but you should definitely feel a nice good stretch in that hamstring and calf. Keep your back nice and straight. Extend your chest forward and extend your hips back, and you're scooping your arms up and around. The down dog toe touch. So same downward dog in plank position, hands and feet stay in the same spot. And as you're going into the downward dog, you're going to reach for your opposite foot. So it doesn't matter if you actually touch your foot or not. You're just going in that direction for a gentle spinal twist every time you hinge back. Again, you want to relax your heels in the downward dog position to get that little calf and hamstring stretch. Lastly, we have the side lunges alternating each side. Here you're looking for the inner thigh and hamstring stretch as you sink into your side lunge. You're loading the lunging leg with the hip and the glute on that lunging side. You're keeping your spine nice and long, and again, you're aiming your chest forward as you sit your hips back. Your feet stay flat and toes are aiming forward the entire time. So coming up on round 2, you have your jumping jack again. I'm changing mine up to the open close or seal jacks, horizontal jumping jacks, however you want to call it. I'm getting a nice big stretch in the chest and shoulders, but staying nice and relaxed in the shoulders as well. So I'm not hunching at any point in this jumping jack. Same idea, keep the core engaged, using your glutes, and staying light on your toes as you're opening and closing into your landing. The upward dog to downward dog. Again, as you're getting into the downward dog, you're making a inverted V shape with your body, relaxing your heels down to get the calf stretch and hamstring stretch. And you're kind of aiming your chest towards your shoelaces. So you're getting a nice big open lat and chest stretch as well. So stay nice and long, extend your spine, and keep your shoulders away from your ears. We're going back to your hip opener and hip closer. I'm doing the same variation as last time, staying in place, alternating each side. The few little steps in between just help me with the balance, so you can do it that way. You can also do it the other way, going back to back without the steps. Halfway through, I'm changing it to hip closers. So you're getting both directions. You still want to stay nice and tall. Keep your shoulders down and away from the ears. And then moving right back into your plank swimmer arms. So finding your perfect plank, make sure your feet are about hip or shoulder distance apart. And bring your hands directly underneath your shoulders. Keep your spine nice and long, neck nice and long. Squeeze your legs, glutes, and core. And you're making your big circle with your arm. And it doesn't matter the range of motion of the arm circles, just make sure you're maintaining your plank. We're going back to the hip hinge, alternating each side. I'm still sticking with the big open sweep at the top. Make sure you're getting a nice big stretch in the hamstring and the calf as you're sticking your heel forward and sitting your hips back. Extend your chest forward to keep your spine nice and long. And again, get nice and open at the very top of your hip hinge. We're going back to your downward dog to toe touch. And again, relaxing your heels at the top or at the end of your downward dog to get the calf stretch and the hamstring stretch. Opening your chest towards your shoelaces and reaching towards your opposite foot as you hinge back. So it's a gentle spinal twist. It doesn't matter if you touch your toes or not. You're just going in that direction. Lastly, you have your side lunges. I'm adding a little bit of a jump just to keep my heart rate up and actually get warmed up for this movement. It's the same idea though. Nice soft landing into the lunge, loading the hip and the glute, and then exploding back to the center to get the nice stretch in the hamstring and inner thigh of that straight leg every time you land into the lunge. Going into the workout, we have the timer here, and we're starting off with squat jumps. So with your squat jumps, keep your feet about shoulder distance apart, a little bit of a turnout. Sit your hips back. I would encourage to use your arms, sweeping them back behind your hips and then extending them up to get a little bit more explosive in your squat jump. You don't really have to jump high. I'm doing more reps for this variation, so I'm getting more repetitions in versus exploding as high as I can. And then your variation here would be to do body weight squats instead if you can't do any of the jumping. So we're doing that for 40 seconds. We have a 20-second transition into the next exercise. I'm using the length of a exercise mat. You can use a yoga mat. You can do a few steps to the side. Count however you want, but I think the yoga mat is the best. Getting into your plank position. Keep the shoulders down and away from the ears, and you want to still maintain the plank as you walk across in your plank position, across the mat, and then you're adding your push-up at the very end. So stay nice and controlled. Make sure you're not rushing through. And you want to make sure you're maintaining your plank. So squeeze your legs, squeeze your glutes, squeeze your core, and keep your chest aiming forward so you're not rounding. You're looking ahead past your fingertips or towards the top of the mat, so that way your head doesn't pull your neck down. We have our next 20-second transition into your V-ups. So lay nice and flat on the floor, legs are straight, bring your arms back and by your ears or by your head. Once you start your V-ups, there's a variation where you're coming up to your sits bones or your tailbone into a balanced V-up. Keep your chest lifted up tall and keep your shoulders down and away from the ears. So the legs are fully extended, they're actively reaching out. So you're trying to get as tall as you can at the top of that V-up. And the arms are reaching forward or towards your toes. So it just depends on where you're comfortable with your arms. You can also do the same thing by keeping your lower back down on the ground and just moving the arms and the legs and going into more of a crunch versus a full V-up to balance. This is your next round coming up. I'm going to change up the squat jump just a little bit, adding a lateral variation to it. You can always go back to your stationary squat jump or body weight squats. But for this one, it's the same setup, feet about hip or shoulder distance apart. Add a little bit of a turnout with your toes. And again, I'm going by reps, so I'm just trying to jump as many times as I can in the 40 seconds that we're here, instead of going as explosive as possible. So I'm still getting a full extension of the ankles, knees, hips, getting as tall as I can, but I'm not jumping very high. I am jumping side to side, and again, that range of motion is short as well, using about the distance of the mat, the length of the mat, but I'm not jumping very high or very far. Make sure you're landing nice and soft on all those jumps. This is your next 20-second transition to the next exercise. This is round 2 of your plank walk and push-up. So the lateral plank walk, just remember your legs are longer than your arms. So you want to do smaller steps with your legs because your hands and your arms are only going to go so far. So you don't want to end up winding around in circles. Make sure you're starting in your perfect plank first. Form is always first, and then the movement, and then the range of motion. So, find your perfect plank, hands underneath the shoulders. Try to keep your neck and spine nice and long, driving the shoulder blades down and away from the ears. Keep the belly drawn in tight, squeeze the glutes, and you're engaging your legs as well. So again, small little steps with the legs as you're walking across with the hands and the arms, so you can stay in line and perpendicular to your mat. This is our next 20-second transition to the next exercise, which is V-ups. So this variation, I'm going to show you the side V-up. So starting from that first variation, you're just going to lean over onto the side of your glutes. So basically you're balancing on one butt cheek on that one side. You're doing the same V-up, exactly the same as last time, except the only difference is that you're balancing on one glute. So you're not directly on your side hip bone. You're kind of aiming or leaning out about 45 degrees from your laying down position. So you're angled out about 45 degrees. The V-up is exactly the same though. Think of this as a big pull from the upper core and lower core. And then same thing here, your legs stay fully extended. For this last round, I had to reset this timer. You can always get an app that has a timer for 40 seconds and 20 seconds. But here I'm using the gym timer. The last set, I'm going to change up the variation of the squat jumps. We're going a quarter turn. But to make sure I'm turning evenly in either direction, I'm just picking 2 walls and turning in the same direction every time. That way I can get the left and right rotation every single time and not feel unbalanced only turning in one direction. The landing is still the same, and I'm picking a focal point in each direction. So that way I'm always landing at a 90-degree turn every single time. The mechanics are the same, landing nice and soft. Keep your chest up, hips back. And I would encourage to use your arms to help with the drive up into the jump. Land nice and soft. So this is round 3, first break of the round 3, moving back into the lateral plank walk to push up. In your variation, you can just practice the plank walk. You can hold the plank instead. You can add more push-ups, whatever variation you want to do, but make sure that you're starting off with your perfect plank. So drive your shoulders down and away from the ears. Keep that core nice and tight. Squeeze your glutes and keep your legs nice and strong. Remember, you're doing smaller little steps with the legs as you're moving your hands across the mat. And I would also encourage using a yoga mat or an exercise mat just so you have a physical cue of how far you're actually shuffling. That way you're not moving in one direction the entire time. And this is the last 20-second transition for the last exercise of the last round. So the V-ups, I'm still going to stick with the side V-ups. Just remember to start with your regular V-up, lean over to the one side, so you're balancing on your glute on the one side. You can use your bottom arm as a little bit of assistance, but the aim is to keep the legs active and reaching straight out. It's just like that first variation. Keep your chest lifted and tall, so you're still using your lats to pull the shoulder blades down and away from the ears. Here I'm doing about 10 to 12 repetitions within the 20-second break, and then switching over to the other side about 10 to 12 reps each. That way it fills up the 40 seconds of work total. So move nice and controlled, and again, keeping the shoulder blades down and away from the ears. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed.